Can't really tell right now, but my room is a fucking mess. Kinda like my life.
Don't believe the lies, deceit I can be.
What's going on, guys? So part of my job as a content creator is to confuse the hell out of you. Okay? Which means making you not know what to expect from the channel some days. Bet you didn't think you're gonna get 2 political videos in a row. Well, my new thing this year is keeping everybody on their fucking toes. So get ready. Because today, we're gonna be checking out some Jordan Peterson. Now, after a couple Ben Shapiro videos, I have gotten constant comments from you guys requesting some Jordan Peterson. I haven't listened to too much Jordan Peterson at all, so this is gonna be a treat. And today, we got Jordan Peterson calmly dismantles feminism in front of 2 feminists. Oh boy. Jesus bless. It says calmly. That's my one gripe with Ben Shapiro, is he is very condescending, very pompous. Like, I don't like the way that he delivers. Okay? Jordan Peterson calmly dismantles. If this person is gonna be like Ben Shapiro in terms of wit and sharpness, but calm, gonna be my favorite dude on the planet. Let's get it, guys. Link to the original video will be down below in the description. Y'all make sure to check it out if you want to. One thing you gotta do right now is drop a comment, because I'm gonna be picking one of you who has the best comment, and I am going to be sending you 20, I said 20, but it said 25. 25 bucks. I don't know why. Just popped in my head to do it. I'm gonna do it. Drop a funny comment if you make me laugh the most. You'll get a reply and some cash. Let's go.
One of our guests of the day, the other one today, is a man you may recognise, or maybe you don't. Jordan Peterson has achieved that rare
Yeah,
feat,
probably. You're either gonna recognize him or you're not.
Bill C-16 made it an offence to refuse to call someone by their chosen gender pronoun. Jordan Peterson argued that this would infringe free speech. While from there, his YouTube star took off.
His YouTube star took off.
Over 150 million times. Gosh, that's about the same number of viewers we have on this program. Last year, he supported ex-Google...
Such shade, dude. Throwing shade already. My God.
So, Jordan, you've done endless interviews. You've been publicising your book, and they've generated plenty of heated debate.
And I actually sold out the Apollo. It had 5,000 seats.
All right, stop boasting. Do you think, though, because of the heat that has been generated, that your views have been misrepresented at times?
Oh, definitely, but that's, you know, that's part and parcel of the process. I did take a very
interesting,
forceful stance, let's say, against some of the excesses of the radical left-wingers, and it's in their best interest to paint me as somehow a figure of the extreme right.
Dude, I love how fucking calm he is. The title's right, he is calm. And he's very eloquent as well, Jesus Christ.
In terms of some of the issues, I mean, you say you've been painted as an extreme right-winger.
No, some people have tried that. Not very successfully, but they've tried it.
And you came to prominence in part over your opposition to this law that we just talked about in Canada, proposing the use of preferred pronouns for transgender people. Just for clarity.
Mandating them.
Yeah.
Right.
Saying that you should do it.
No, that you had to do it.
Right, you had to do it by law, but just for clarity.
Notice how particular he is. Like, he seems to be very careful with his word choice. When people are particular and get hung up on the words you use, whether it's should or shall or must, like, I mean, pay attention to detail, right?
Clarity. Do you think a trans woman is a real woman?
I don't really like the way those questions are formulated. You know, I don't know what that means. What do you mean, a real woman?
Well, I'm asking you, in your mind, you know, it depends what you think a real woman is, but do you think a trans woman is a woman?
No.
Why not?
Because I think that women are capable, generally speaking, of having babies, and they have female genitalia, and they have an XX chromosome, and I think the biological markers are relevant. It doesn't necessarily mean that I don't think that people should be treated with respect and dignity if they happen not to fit easily into a gender category.
Sharp as fuck.
That's a different issue.
Right.
But it's a matter of definition. And I actually think it's a foolish argument in some sense. Because what do you mean by real?
Well, I mean, you've just clarified that, though. You don't think that a trans woman is a woman. And do you think that that is what is behind or explains your opposition to this idea of a law mandating you to use a preferred pronoun? Is because you don't actually believe that that's the truth, that a trans woman is a woman, and therefore you can't use that pronoun?
No, that's not my argument at all.
Really?
Yeah, really. My argument is that the government shouldn't compel voluntary speech.
No, but I know what your argument is, and you've made it very clearly.
But that's exactly it.
There's no motivation behind it. But you don't believe a trans woman is a woman.
I wouldn't put everything on online in my life to take the stance I did unless I had thought that through very deeply. and I've thought it through very deeply. There aren't hidden motivations that have to do with some arbitrary prejudice against trans people.
Wow.
It's purely...
He
pure
is sharp as fuck, dude! That's what I want to be like. I want to be like that. Notice that I'm very not calm during these videos, but that is just so admirable. One of the many reasons that Marilyn Manson stuck out to me, even before I liked his music, I really, really was a fan of his calm nature.
If you were to talk directly to the kids at Columbine or the people in that community, what would you say to them if they were here right now?
I wouldn't say a single word to them. I would listen to what they have to say, and that's what no one did.
Love that, dude.
Simply this. There's never been a time in English common law history where the government compelled speech, and the Canadian government dared to do that. And that was unacceptable. And they masked it with this show of,
I agree 100%
of compassion for the oppressed, and I don't buy it.
Right, but you would, as I think you said, at an individual level, if somebody asked you, if somebody asked you to use a particular pronoun, you would do so.
Well, I have.
You have?
Yes.
Right, fine.
Yes.
Let's talk about feminism. Are you a feminist?
No, not as it's currently defined, certainly not.
No, well, in any other definition?
That's super important. I feel like people nowadays are arguing over shit, and they're not even arguing with the same definitions in mind. Necessary to define your terms when arguing, right? I mean, it makes sense. So let's see where they go.
Well, I think that anybody who doesn't think that the competitive landscape should be opened up for equality of opportunity is not thinking. And so everyone's interests are better served if people have as equal access to opportunity to display their talents and to manifest their talents in the world as possible. So in that sense,
he's so well spoken.
But feminism
dude.
now,
one of the traits that I just
why
really
it's so deeply unpopular. A very small minority of women in the UK identify as feminists, and the reason for that is it's primarily become an ideological weapon, and it's an ideology that I detest actually. The ideology that it's associated with, collectivist ideology.
Right. I mean, okay, and that's your view about feminism. Aisha, are you a feminist?
Absolutely. I'm a very proud feminist, and when I was
she was just staying back.
a
You're
special
lurking.
advisor in government, I worked on women and equality issues, and I was very proud actually of a piece of legislation I got on the statute book with my former boss Harriet Harman, the Equality Act in 2010, which strengthened our anti-discrimination laws. And I fought very hard to get more women into public life.
I feel like she needs to define
into
her
the Labour
her
Party. And I'm
feminism.
very, very
what
proud
does
of being a feminist. Hence my
feminism mean
pink
to her?
dress.
I don't know.
Oh, well, all right. Obviously reverting to type then in the pink dress.
Absolutely, well.
You would like men to regain or reclaim their strength physically, mentally and morally. Is that broadly correct?
I would say morally, fundamentally, but I think the other things go along with that.
Right, and if that
But it isn't men precisely who I'm speaking to. It's people. I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm actually interested in individuals, and I'm interested in their fortification against tragedy. You know, every time I do an interview, the interview is always political. It's always political.
Well, the clue is in the title of this programme. We are the Daily Politics.
No, fair enough. No, look, fair enough. And I'm not casting aspersions at this programme, but the fundamental...
Casting aspersions? Who says that? That's fucking cool. I want to do that shit. It makes me feel like Walter White whenever you say some shit like they're probably doing some clandestine activity, you know? It's just like one of those things that's like you don't hear every day, the way that they put it. Very bizarre. Or whenever he says, I'm gonna go collect my children. I just think that it's some weird things like that in my mind, I put those things in a bucket and I'm like, that's something that like a dad would say. I don't know.
News that's important about what I'm doing isn't the political element. And the people who talk to me don't talk politically. They say they've watched my lectures.
But part
and
of it is that I think for a lot of people the kind of personal does become the political.
Or the political becomes the personal.
Yeah, and I think in terms of the...
Yeah, but in this situation, a lot of people are wrong, because primarily what's happening is people are watching my lectures, and as a consequence, their lives are improving dramatically.
Oh, I'm sure they are. I'm sure people are have had a huge conversion after, and they're much happier once they've been...
It's not a conversion.
But what I would like to do is kind of almost... I think at the moment the discussion about feminism is very
calm. He's good.
Divisive, and sometimes it can sort of be like...
Sometimes just like, regardless of what you're arguing, the cadence of the argument, like interrupting people, like it's like, oh God, it like drives me nuts. Like even that facet of it makes me a little bit perturbed. And he is remaining calm, dude.
Okay, men have to lose. That is hard to do. Actually, everybody has a lot to gain by greater equality. Now, whether you get the equality of outcome that you want, I think only time will tell. But certainly, equality of opportunity is very important. And actually,
we can agree on that.
A lot of men would benefit from that. So I think a lot of men are having a lot of crises at the moment in terms of mental health, suicide issues, their own sense of identity, because I think some of the stereotypes put on men are quite limiting for them as well. I think they make men quite unhappy as well.
The devil's in the details with regards to equality, because I'm an advocate of equality of opportunity. But I think the idea outcomes, that's an appalling doctrine.
Why?
All right. Well,
because you have to produce an unbelievably potent bureaucracy to make the ever greater and ever finer distinctions that are necessary to enforce equality of outcome. How many group differences are you going to equalize across? Is it just gender and sex? How many genders?
No, so
gender and ethnicity? How many genders?
I think
how many ethnicities? How many races?
We'll let Aisha answer.
I think what people are trying to do with this, and certainly as somebody who...
He is on fucking point! That's what I'm saying. It's so interesting, dude. So well prepared.
To do this myself. I think you set yourself ambitions for what you would like to see, and then you try and remove as many of the structural barriers and obstacles. So you try and create that, fair crack of the whip and that equality of opportunity to see where you get to with the outcomes.
That's
now,
fine.
We are in very early stages. It's only 100 years since, women got the vote in this country. We have had a long established patriarchal society and set up for a long time in the world, in this country. So I think we have a long way to go to see where it plays out.
I'm laughing because I'm reading the title again up top. Calmly dismantles. It's like, that's such a good way to put it, because it's just like killer instinct, but done so in a light, bubbly way, kind of. Very respectful argument here, and I do appreciate that.
There is no country in the world where, we really do have gender equality properly yet in terms of real decision making and real
some of the
power.
Scandinavian countries maybe,
but they're still not quite there, and I think you've spoken a lot about this. There's still a way to go in Scandinavia. Things are not perfect in Scandinavia.
I haven't spoken about that specifically. I've spoken about
you spoke about the right stuff yesterday. You talked about the Scandinavian.
Well, I've spoken about the fact that, see, one of the things that's happened in the analysis of the differences between men and women is that the social constructionist claim is that the differences are socially constructed, right? Is that it's a consequence of environment that men and women differ. But what the scientific literature indicates is that as cultures become more egalitarian, like they have in Scandinavia, the differences between men and women actually increase rather than decreasing, which is a direct repost to the social constructionist view. So they just deny all that. The biggest differences in the world in interest and temperament are between Scandinavian men and women. It's exactly the opposite of what everyone predicted.
Can I just pick up on one thing you said a little earlier in the interview? You said it's the moral guidance that you are focused on. You think that is particularly important. How do you square that with the behaviour of perhaps arguably, a prominent alpha male president of the United States, Donald Trump?
Always got to bring Donald Trump into it.
Having an affair with a porn star when his wife was pregnant. How does that fit with morally reclaiming?
I would say that was rather clearly immoral.
Right.
Yeah,
but you would still,
not to be a target for emulation.
But you still would have voted for him.
Not to be a target of emulation. I like that, dude. I'm gonna start working shit into my daily speech like that. You just sound powerful when you talk like that. That is so awesome, man.
Over Hillary Clinton as an identity politics. It's just how
none
do
of that
you
was on the table, and I said I might have voted for him on a whim. That's all.
But you also did say you started out feeling quite close to Hillary Clinton. Can I just come on the
very quickly, because we've got to move on.
In a way, I don't care what Trump does in terms of his private life, but what I don't have is him stopping or potentially stopping other women having agency over their reproductive rights, and lots of men taking those decisions.
It's all about where the moral outrage lies and what's more morally outrageous in people's eyes. Is it his behaviour or the identity politics for you on the... Anyway, we'll have to discuss this another time.
That's actually funny. Dude, what can I say, man? Jordan Peterson seems to be so level-headed, so calm and rational that it makes me feel like it is the perfectly crafted argument, because he's actually not emotional at all, in the sense that he is able to listen to everything the other side is saying so that he can perfectly rebut it. He's extraordinarily careful with his word choice. It's so interesting to watch. It is fun, man. Makes me feel like I'm watching a course in how to argue. And I don't think he said anything that I disagree with. He's a damn psychologist. He's talking about social studies. Very interesting. Would definitely like to get into some more of Jordan Peterson's things. And with that being said, that's where you guys come in. So drop some comments down below. Let me know what you think about good old JP himself, and I will see you beautiful bastard tomorrow. Love you guys. Peace.
Don't believe the lies, deceit.